Coming up on Midco Sports tonight, we'll talk Summit League seeding scenarios with Tom Nieman. Learn where your team might end up and who they may face first in the tourney. Then it's Coach Talk with Augie's Tom Billiter. Elena Lanson and Coach B chat in studio about what to expect from the Vikings as the NSIC tournament begins. And finally, Trick Shot Tuesday, and this week, I get to challenge Dakota Wesleyan's Coach Wilbur. All of that plus much more. Midco Sports Tonight tips off right now. Good evening. Welcome to the show. I'm Kelly Stewart, and this is Midco Sports Tonight, joined right off the bat by Tom Nieman to talk Summit League hoops because it is the last week of the regular season, and fittingly enough, some of the biggest games that have a lot riding on them in terms of seeding are this week. So we are talking Summit League seeding scenarios. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you, Steve?
I am great. I'm so excited for the games.
It's going to be, this week is great because we got some really good games with South Dakota and South Dakota State, and then we get the Summer League tournament starts a week from Saturday on March 3rd and runs for those great 4 days at the Premier Center in Sioux Falls. And we're lucky because USD and SDSU are really good in men's and women's basketball right now.
Yes, exactly. So let's talk about the women starting off in the battle for the top spot. It's tomorrow in Vermilion.
Wednesday night, USD and SDSU play in Vermilion second time around, and the Coyotes went to Brookings, beat South Dakota State 67-61 the first time around. That is the fewest points that South Dakota State has scored in a Summit League game so far this season. So the Coyotes got up there, Stewart, and they D'd it up and got the win. So South Dakota is 13-0 in Summit League play. The Coyotes have won 17 in a row.
Yes.
They have not lost a game since December 16th. When they were at home, they lost a home game to Tulsa. But in the Summit League, Stewart, their closest games, this is one of them. By 6 against SDSU. They won by 5 at Oral Roberts. Those have been their closest games for USD's women so far. So they really haven't had a real nail-biter on the way to getting to 13 in a row.
Yeah, I think I did the math actually the other day, and 7-0 on the road, and their average road win was by 15.4 points.
Yeah.
So just had to give my Yotes a little love. But how about this graphic, the seeding scenario?
And the bottom line there, if they both finish 13-1, that would mean South Dakota State would have to win in Vermilion on Wednesday night. If they both finish at 13-1, the tiebreaker goes all the way through the league. And since they've beaten everybody else, there is no tiebreaker other than RPI, the ratings percentage index. And South Dakota State would win that because they have a higher RPI. So if it does come down to that, where South Dakota State wins on Wednesday night, the Jackrabbits would get the top seed in the Summit League tournament. But that's a big if, the way South Dakota is playing.
We shall see. Yeah, both teams playing really well right now. Well, looking outside those two spots, the third spot, we would expect Western Illinois to earn that spot, but still 3 through 8 aren't locked in.
Yeah, not quite a lock yet, as our guys around here like to say. But Western Illinois probably, most likely, the number 3 seed behind South Dakota State and South Dakota. Western Illinois still has to play at North Dakota State. If they win that game, they're in. And here you kind of see those next 3 in the 3, 4, 5 spots. Western Illinois, most likely the 3. But then you get to Denver and Oral Roberts. Denver is playing really well, Stewart. They've won 3 in a row. They beat North Dakota State, Oral Roberts, and Omaha in their last 3 games. Denver and Oral Roberts, if they would come down to a tie, would both be 7-7 in league play. That would also come down to an RPI tiebreaker, and Denver would have that. But either way, you're going to have Denver and Oral Roberts in the 4-5 spot. They would have to play each other again in the first round of the Summer League tournament. But Oral Roberts without Martinez. She's been out for the last 3 games. They've lost all 3 of those. So Oral Roberts kind of limping into the Summit League tournament. But Western Illinois, most likely the 3, and in Denver and ORU, the 4 and 5.
Yeah, Martinez is such a big part of that team. I feel like the offense just runs through her and Faith Iham. And
yeah, bad injury at a bad time for Oral Roberts.
But Misty Cousins did say she's hopeful that she will be back for the tournament. So we shall see. We hope for the best for her. But Tom, looking at the bottom of the conference, how do the rest of those spots play out?
Omaha and North Dakota State are in those 6 and 7 spots right now, and they both got 2 games left. And I think we've got who they play here, but you've got Omaha and North Dakota State most likely going to go into their final regular season games at 2-11. So they play each other in that last regular season game. Whoever wins that game would obviously get the 6. North Dakota State would be at home. So we will say that NDSU the best chance probably to be the 6th seed, and that would get them a matchup in the first round against Western Illinois. So Fort Wayne's women will be the 8, so it'll be Fort Wayne taking on either South Dakota State or South Dakota in that first round game in the Summit League tournament. But still a little bit to be decided in the first 2 spots and then all the way down.
Oh man, I can't wait to see what happens. Okay, moving on to the men's side. Once again, like we talked about, USD and SDSU battling for the top spot.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing, and they play in Brookings on Thursday night, and both with 11 wins right now. South Dakota State with 1 loss. South Dakota's got 2 losses on the season. This was the game down in Vermilion where the Coyotes got all over them, beat them by 19 points down there. But South Dakota, those 2 losses, North Dakota State and at Denver, South Dakota State's got the 1 loss here to the Coyotes. So it comes down to this on Thursday night. The winner of that game is going to be the number 1 seed. No matter what happens, USD will be done with the regular season after Thursday night's game, as you see here. If they get to 12-2, they have got it locked up. Or if they get to, if they get to 12-2, they've got that locked up because they beat the Jackrabbits twice. South Dakota State, if they win this game on Thursday night, and then they've got 1 more game at Fort Wayne, doesn't really matter what happens in that game, because if they beat South Dakota, the Coyotes would have 3 losses. So it would come down maybe that Fort Wayne game for South Dakota State. If they would lose that, and then they and the Coyotes end up at 12-2, then they are co-champions again in the Summit League. South Dakota State has never won the men's regular season outright. They have tied for it 3 times, but they've never won it outright. But they've got a chance to do it. But that's going to be a huge game in Brookings on Thursday night.
All right, and live right here on Midco SM, both of those rivalry games. Well, the next battle to watch out for is that 3-4 battle on the men's side. And right now it's Fort Wayne and Denver going for the 3 seed.
They've been just teams that we can't figure out. They've beaten some good teams. They've lost some games we probably thought they shouldn't have lost. But they will be the 3 and 4. It just depends on how it all comes out. Fort Wayne's got that game. There's just 1 game left against South Dakota State coming up on Saturday. It is in Fort Wayne, so that is obviously going to be a test for the Jackrabbits. But Denver on the other side, just like their women, Denver's men have won 3 in a row. They beat North Dakota State, Omaha, and Oral Roberts, kind of 3 teams at the middle and the bottom of the league. But still, Denver, 1 game left at Western Illinois. And if it comes down to a tiebreaker between these 2, Fort Wayne has beaten Denver twice. So you got 3 and 4 most likely. At this point, it looks like Fort Wayne would be the 3 and Denver would be the 4.
All right, we shall see. But then the rest of the seeds are important for matchup purposes. You look at that first round, and North Dakota State, Omaha, and Oral Roberts all would like to avoid playing USD or SDSU in the first round.
And the Bison are going to avoid that. More than likely, NDSU can be either a 5, a 6, or a 7. They won't be the 8 because they've got a tiebreaker scenario. That the Bison, though, are 4 and 8 right now. They've got 2 games left at Western Illinois and at Omaha. If they win both of those, they are the 4 seed. Otherwise, they get into some tiebreaker scenarios against Omaha and Oral Roberts. But NDSU, again, they're going to be right in the middle of the pack, either the 5, 6, or the 7, and you see what they've got left here with those 2 games on the road. Same thing, though, with Omaha. If they would win those 2 games, obviously they would beat North Dakota State, and then Omaha would jump up into that 5 spot. But again, you're talking about staying out of the 7, 8 spots and avoiding South Dakota and South Dakota State in those top 2. Western Illinois, the team you don't see there, is 2 and 10 right now. They're not necessarily the last seed. Western Illinois has 2 wins right now. If they win their last 2 games, they would have some tiebreaker advantages over Omaha and Oral Roberts. So it's not set yet that Western Illinois is the 8 seed. If they lose one of their games this week, then they are the 8. But still some shuffling to be done in those bottom 4 spots. But at the top, we do know that South Dakota State will be the 1 and 2. Depending on who wins on Thursday.
All right, well, the huge rivalry games Wednesday and Thursday right here live on Midco SM, and then Saturday night, the last of the Summit League regular season games. By that time, we will know who everyone is going to play first round. So thank you so much, Tom, for making sense of all the
It makes a little bit of sense, but yeah, it's going to be a great
Makes
week.
a little bit of sense. All right, thanks, Tom. When we come back, we'll send it up to North Dakota. Alex Heinert sits in with UND men's basketball head coach Brian Jones to get caught up on Fighting Hawks hoops. This is Midco Sports Tonight.
Midco Sports Tonight, presented by Avera Orthopedics.